See that the uterus, as you see in the picture, it is made up of 3 parts or 3 layers. The innermost layer, it is called endometrium. Endometrium. So here's the, I guess you don't say lumen, but again, here's the uterus right here. The innermost layer, it is called endometrium. The middle layer, it is called myometrium. And the outermost layer, it is called perimetrium. So, endometrium, the myometrium, and what? Perimetrium. So take a look at the picture and find those 3 layers on page, what page was that, Cynthia?
635.
635, okay. The endometrium, the innermost layer, it is made up of simple what? Columnar cell, and a layer called, microscopically when you look at it, stratum functionalis and stratum basalis. Together, the simple columnar, the stratum functionalis, and the stratum basalis together, that is your endometrium. That's what endometrium made up of. The bulk of the uterus, as you see, it is made up of muscle. The middle layer, that would be what? The myometrium. And then the outermost layer, what was the outermost layer? So the endometrium, it is made up of simple columnar, the stratum functionalis, stratum basalis, and then the bulk of the uterus, the wall, it is made up of muscle, the myometrium, and then you have the outermost layer, which is made up of connective tissue. That would be perimetrium. Now, did everybody got this right here, guys? Yes. Yes? Good. Guys, don't forget those CLOs, please. Just do 1 or 2 per day, and make sure the deadline is December 3rd. Or next Monday. All right. The menstrual cycle, which is about 28 days, we want to see what changes happen to the wall of the uterus during those 28 days. Nothing will happen to myometrium. The muscle is still there. Nothing will happen to what? There is no change in perimetrium. There is no change in what? In the muscle. But there would be some changes in which is made up of simple columnar, the functionalis and what? Basalis. Here you also have arteries and veins, because you have to nourish these cells. And aside from the blood vessels that you have in there, you also have a gland called uterine gland, or endometrium gland. Uterine glands or endometrium glands. And as we're going to find out next Thursday, the function of these endometrium glands or uterine gland in the endometrium is to secrete glycogen. And as you know, the glycogen is a polysaccharide. It's sugar, right? So that would be a good source of food for the zygote, or you call it egg. Once the egg implants itself to the wall, yes, once the egg implants to the wall, then these endometrium glands or uterine glands secrete what? Glycogen, which is a very good source of food for what? For the zygote, or for the egg. Now, the changes that happens, first of all, the menstrual cycle, it has 3 phases. The first phase, it is called menstrual phase or menses phase. So you have menstrual phase or menses phase. The second phase, it is called proliferative phase. This is before ovulation. And the third phase, it is called secretory phase, which is after ovulation. So one is the menses phase, one is the proliferative phase, one is what? Secretory phase, after ovulation. This is day 1 to 4 during certain times of the month, as we're going to find out when we get to chapter 27. The level of estrogen and progesterone, the female hormones, drastically goes what? Goes down. And when it goes down, that causes the vasoconstriction of these blood vessels. They become what? Vasoconstricted. And once they become vasoconstricted, they will rupture, they will break apart. Yes? And these cells, the sternum, especially the sternum functionalis, all these connective tissues and cells in the sternum functionalis, obviously, if they are not receiving any nutrient from the blood, they will what? Die. So during menses phase, or the menstrual phase, which is day what? Day 1 to 4, you will see that functionalis is shutting off. It's being sloughed off. And so what you see during the menses phase, you see some blood, yes? But in that blood, you also have what? Some dead what? It's not just the blood in there, it's also dead what? Dead tissues as well, the functionalis. And the simple what? simple columnar cells. They're all there. So during the mesophase, what we're going to see that there is no what? No functionalis, because these blood vessels, they get vasoconstricted, and the functionalis slough off or remove. And that is, so when we look at the slide, the way we differentiate the mesophase from the others, we see that the functionalis start what? They start shedding off. But first we have to say, where is the functionalis, where is what? Basalis, where is the myometrium, where is what? First we have to do that, and then so that way we know what the functionalis that is what is being removed. And it's been sloughed off, then we call it what? Mesophase, which is day 1 through what? Day 1, day 5. Proliferative phase, this is day 4 or day 5, 4 to 14, or 4 to 14. It's called proliferative phase. Remember, during the mesophase, the functionalis start what? Shedding, yes? The stratum basalis remains there, and later on makes what? Makes the functionalis again. So when we look at the proliferative phase, after the mesophase, the wall start what? Building up. The basalis start building up what? Or making the functionalis again. So when we look at the proliferative phase, we see the simple columnar cells, we see what? The functionalis, we see what? Basalis, of course. The secretory phase, this is day 14 and above, day 14 to 28 or whatever. In secretory phase, basically this is pretty much the same as what? This one, but the wall is becoming what? Becoming more thicker and what? Thicker, bigger and what? Start what? Becoming more thicker. But there is not that much of a difference between the what? Secretory and what? Proliferative. Of course, this one, the wall would be what? A little thinner, but this one would be what? So it's build up. And then it starts what? Starts all over. Now, how do we differentiate when we look at through the slide? How can we differentiate between the proliferative phase? Because in both of these, we see the functionalis, we see the endometrium, we see the myometrium, of course, we see the peritoneum. But how do we differentiate between these two phases? One of the landmarks to separate the proliferative phase from the secretory phase is that you look at those endometrium glands or the uterine glands. When you look at the proliferative phase, those endometrium glands or uterine glands, they're round, nice looking. That's the landmark. The endometrium glands or uterine glands are round, nice looking for most part. Whereas as you get to the secretory phase, those endometrium glands, so mostly they're round, nice looking in the proliferative phase, but as you get to the secretory phase, these endometrium glands, they become more jagged, they become more elongated. Or your lab book called elaborated. Look on page 651. Look on page 651. They become more jagged and elongated. So you have 3 slides, right, one on top of each other. I think the first one on top is what? The mesophase. I think the middle one would be what? Proliferative phase. And the third phase would be what? Secretory phase.